Hey everybody, welcome to Too Much CGI, the show where me and Scott talk about all kinds of bullshit from the 80s, all the geekery, all the stuff we all love. And now we're talking about Jungle Boogie.
And this is the Muppets version of Jungle Boogie, right?
Yeah, so I wanted to know if you, you figured it out. You figured it out. You're impressive. And the reason I played that is because I'm trying to watch that new Muppets TV show. I want to love it.
Yeah.
Have you checked it out?
I have not checked it out yet, but I'm a fan. Like, I always liked the band. I like the band. So I assumed I would like this.
Oh.
How's that landing for you?
Not at all.
No?
I'm just wondering now, am I just too old for the Muppets? Because I used to love the Muppets. Listen, I grew up on the Muppets. Everything was the Muppets to me.
But what was the last Muppet thing you watched?
Oh, geez. I remember, didn't they just do one with that Segel guy, Jason Segel? That was a great Muppets movie. Where one of the guys from Flight of the Conchords did the music. Yeah. What's been since then?
They did part two. They did part two of that one where they were in a Russian gulag. And Ty Burrell from Modern Family was in there, and so was Tina Fey. It was not as good as the first one.
Yeah, that one's not even ringing a bell.
Yeah. So I was hoping this was going to go back to the first Muppets movie with Jason Segel. I was hoping they were going to move away from that second thing and recapture that magic, but not landing for you, huh?
Yeah, just not landing for me. The jokes aren't great. Amy likes it. She's watching it. And I'm like, I'll take a nap.
I feel like the last 5 things you told me about, Amy's a big fan of, and you're like, this sucked.
Yeah, nothing's good anymore. Nobody's pleasing me out there in Hollywood. Pay attention to me, Hollywood. Please me. Not with this Shazam 2 shit. I just saw that the other day. Oofa, toofa. They are not learning their lesson about these superhero movies.
I have little faith for superhero. I think the superhero thing has run its course, and they would have to really do something to shake it up to get it back, because it's just become wash, rinse, repeat anymore.
You are 100% right. That is exactly where my head's at. I don't even want to watch another superhero movie until somebody says, hey, they finally did something different. Because this ended exactly as you would think it would. I mean, the only surprise in this movie, because to me, some of the fun in superhero movies are that we've become accustomed to Easter eggs and surprises. And a lot of times now, they're not delivering on the surprises. So the surprise that was in this movie, we even talked about as a news story before. But it was such a, fuck it. Okay, if you haven't seen this movie, 3, 2, 1 for spoilers. We're going to talk about spoilers. Well, we talked about in the past that Wonder Woman's in it. Not only is Wonder Woman in it, but pretty much Wonder Woman comes and saves the day. Shazam fucking dies at the end. And they say, oh, if only there was a god. Only a god can revive him. And then they turn around and there's Gal Gadot. Well, I'm a god. And they bring him back to life and happy ending, and it's all good. And I'm just like, this is just so bad, so lazy, so cheap, and not fun at all anymore.
And once again, no consequences.
No consequences. And then there's an Easter egg setting up a third movie, and it's like, I don't even think there's going to be a third movie.
I guess they're hoping beyond hope that there might be a sequel to the sequel.
Who's running these movie studios now? It's like they were doing so good for a while, and now it just seems like morons are putting these things out, looking at them going, it hits the formula perfect, ship it.
Are you hearing this, Mr. Gunn? Are you taking notes?
Mr. Gunn, we know you're a fan. We know you listen. Did a whole episode on you just to try to get your attention. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We have a section called What Are You Watching? And I've already done 2 of the 4 things that I'm watching. We might as well go right into What Are You Watching? But before we go into that, I just want to remind everybody, if you want to communicate with us, you can go to Twitter at TooMuchCGI. You can go to TooMuchCGI.com and you can email. We'd love to read your emails. We got a good one to talk about today. You can as well rate us. We always appreciate getting rated online. We love getting rated. Hot or not, I always get a not. But being rated is fun. So if you can go to Spotify, you can go to iTunes, and you can rate us. And that helps us appear more highly in the algorithms and blah, blah, blah. You know how the fucking whole thing works. Or you can go to ratethispodcast.com/toomuchcgi, and you can rate us from there. All right, done with that bullshit. Let me hear about Mr. Scott's adventures yesterday.
All right. Well, first off, apologies for my voice. I have allergies. This is not, I'm coming down with a cold. This is the sound of a 43-year-old man who spent the better part of 8 hours in an amusement park on insane ass roller coasters, just screaming at the top of my lungs. And this is the aftermath of that. So I'm, again, apologizing for what you're hearing, but I have no regrets whatsoever.
Screaming in joy or screaming in fear?
No, I love the roller coaster scene. I love the thrill ride scene. And it's not that I haven't been to an amusement park in a long time. It's that my kids are now 8 and 10, soon to be 9 and 11. They always shied away from anything extreme. And it would always just be the four of us, so I can't just go and tell my kids to sit on a bench while I go wait in line for, a half hour to get on the next thrill ride. So it was always like, well, I guess I'm not doing that this time. Here comes the Scramblers. Here comes the Music Express. Here comes the fucking merry-go-round. But now they're actually really getting more into it. Both of my kids went on probably the biggest roller coaster I've been on in a long time. We went to Hershey Park. My wife's company had a picnic there. And it was a great time, man. And it was probably the first time in a long time that we were able to just hop in line together, go on a crazy ass roller coaster together, and then just get off and laugh about it. So it was a really good time. And then my kids started asking me questions like, what was your first roller coaster? And what's your favorite roller coaster? And can we go there and go on that roller coaster? And I was thinking, like, what was my first roller coaster? And I started trying to do some thinking on it, and I think I have an answer, but I want to forward that question on to you, Bill. First off, do you enjoy amusement parks? Do you not enjoy amusement parks? What was your first roller coaster?
I did actually love amusement parks. I didn't know you were an amusement park guy. I didn't know that about you. Very interesting. And that's why you have kids, by the way. So you get them to do the shit that you need them to do, like mow the lawn and keep you happy at amusement parks by going on the rides with them. Because if you tried to get me to go on a ride with you, I wouldn't do it. Because I've gotten to the point now where I go on an amusement park ride and I can come off going, I used to like this. Like I just get yucky feeling after coming off any ride now. But I'd love the thrill rides, and being a kid who went to the Jersey Shore a lot, and it's where you go. Wildwood had incredible rides for kids back in the 80s, and they weren't the craziest of roller coasters, but we also had, I remember there was Clementon Park in Clementon, New Jersey. That was an amusement park. It was like falling apart. It was like Action Park, Yeah. Nobody really watched us. We were doing shit in things that had splinters and nails sticking out of them, and yeah, that was I wonder if that park's still around. But other than that, I just remember like Great Adventure vaguely. Dorney Park is around here.
The Six Flags Great Adventure in Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Six Flags or whatever they call it. With a dancing guy. Doot, 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 the dancing old man. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And there's so Six Flags is a chain, right? There's Six Flags something everywhere.
Yes.
All right. So Six Flags Great Adventure is the New Jersey one. Six Flags something else is somebody else's. Is that how it works?
Yeah, they have like Six Flags Magic Mountain, I think. They have them in Texas. They have them in out west. They have one in Maryland now, a woman was telling me yesterday. So there's Six Flags everywhere.
Gotcha.
And Six Flags was owned by Warner Brothers, I think, because they had all of the Batman rides. They had the Batman, they had the Joker, they had the DC license, they had a Superman, and each different park has a different roller coaster.
Right. That's right. I remember when I lived in Bucks County driving to go see my girlfriend. This is like 93, 94. And I drove by this house that always had these Lamborghinis and other cars outside. It was a rich area. And I drive by and the fucking Batmobile from the 89 Batman is there. And we're all, what the hell? There's people just kind of are finding this house and just kind of hanging around. So I pull over, and what I found out is they were driving it to the Six Flags to put it on display because they were opening some kind of Batman ride.
Yes.
Right. So Six Flags has a tie-in with Warner Brothers. Makes total sense. But I barely remember Six Flags Great Adventure, but I went there a couple times. But other than that, it's just boardwalk roller coasters, which are never that great, and anything at Disney.
Yeah. You mentioned Wildwood. Wildwood has Maurice Pier, and there's actually three different piers, and they all have like their amusement rides on them. I always consider those to be more like local fairs than actual amusement parks.
I knew it wouldn't impress you. I knew you'd be like, "What a puss."
No, but were they your first roller coaster? Were the ones in Wildwood?
Pretty much, yeah. Like I know I've only been on a couple loop-de-loop roller coasters because Disney didn't have any when I was going as a kid.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Disney is not a great ride park at all. They like their rides where you sit in a car and you go around and you look at characters and you look at I don't know. Like it's not a thrilling ride. It's an entertaining ride for some people. Other people look at it and they go, if you think you're going to an amusement park, when you go to a theme park like that, you look around, you think, what the fuck is this?
Oh, Space Mountain is pretty thrilling because you're not sure if some beam is going to cut your head off. It's so fucking dark and rickety. You're like,
Yeah, but
I'm not going
that's
to make
like
this out alive.
yeah, but that's the exception rather than the rule. Mostly everything else is like it's a small world and you sit in a boat and you look at this. Or it's like, there's not that many thrilling rides. They're getting better, but they're not Hershey Park. They're not Six Flags. The other one we had local around here was Dorney Park, which is still around. That's up in a little bit north of where we're located. And when I was in school, I was always a band kid, and like the band trip for the year would always be, hey, everybody's in band because you get to get in this class and go on a field trip. Some years the field trip would be Hershey because that was like an hour southwest, or you'd be going to Dorney, which was like an hour northeast. So it was always a mix up on where you were going to go that year. When I was a kid, Dorney had better roller coasters, and Hershey was more. They had the Ferris wheels, they had like the flat rides and shit like that, but Dorney was better. Not anymore, man. Hershey has probably a dozen solid roller coasters, each one different, and it was just incredible. The other big thing that was different when I was a kid was Dorney Park would have Wild Water Kingdom as well, which was like a whole separate water park you can go to. And Hershey had nothing like that. But now Hershey has this whole area called the Boardwalk where they have a wave pool, they have a lazy river, they have the water slides and stuff. So they're pretty equal now. And I think I actually prefer Hershey more. But to be fair, it's been years since I've been to Dorney, but Hershey's just been better and just had some great rides I went on yesterday. And to go back to my kid's question about what was my first roller coaster, I think my first roller coaster was at Dorney Park. Don't even know if this ride exists anymore, but it was called the Laser, and it actually had two loops in it. And that was my first go around in any kind of roller coaster. And I don't know if I was there with family and everybody else was going on. It was like, well, you're either going on it or you're sitting here on this bench by yourself while we get through the line. And I was just like, I don't like either of these options. I'm just going to go be with you. And the Laser, I think, was my first roller coaster.
The Laser.
Whether or not I enjoyed it, I don't have that memory. The fact that I have to think hard to even think if that was the first one, if not the first one, it was one of the first ones. The fact that I have to think this hard about it makes me think that I couldn't have been too traumatized.
I'm remembering a roller coaster in Kennywood. Kennywood was up near Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That was either the first wooden roller coaster or the fastest roller coaster at the time. I remember being in line and thinking, wow, I'm on a special roller coaster. And I don't know, maybe as a roller coaster enthusiast, maybe you know more about it than I do, but I guess that was a special one for a hot minute.
I do know that the first roller coaster in the United States was in Pennsylvania and was in Western Pennsylvania. So it may have very well been the one at Kennywood.
Did we ever talk about that Action Park documentary?
I think you mentioned it once, but we never got deep into it. Like that was one of the earlier episodes we did where it was just like, how did people not die? People did die, but like, how did it go on for as long as what it did? But I think that's about as far as we got into it.
It's a perfect example of what the 80s were like. Yeah, Action Park, which was somewhere in New York, because where I lived right outside of Philadelphia, we got New York stations. And I would sometimes flip through the New York stations to watch, alternatives to the Philadelphia station. There's no A-Team on. Let me see if New York has it on. Hey, they do. So I'm watching A-Team in the middle of the afternoon, and a Action Park commercial would come on. And it looked like the most fun amusement park. But what Action Park really is, as we're finding out now, it was one of the cheapest cut the corners type of amusement park there possibly could be. And in the 80s, when insurance and all that shit wasn't such a big deal, I guess, they had this park and kids would go, parents would take them, and they would get hurt. Like they would lose teeth. Like people really got fucked up in this park. And I never went there. I was talking earlier about Clementon Park, which is probably pretty close to Action Park. But there's a documentary, and I think it's on Max, the new HBO Max,
Yeah.
if it's still there. It's called Action Park, and it's an absolutely must-see documentary.
It's fantastic that you say that, because what you saw of Action Park, and having never been there, Clementon Park was the commercial I saw while I was watching daytime television. And I always remember being like, Clementon Park is great during the day, but then there's the night to come. And that was like their whole tagline. It was like, we're open all day long. You can go ride rides all day. And it always seemed like this, like, wow, that'd be a really great place to go to. And now I'm hearing what it really was. And it sounds like it was Action Park.
Oh, there was one ride. It was a fun house. That's not a ride, but it's a fun house you run through. And they had like floors. There was probably like, they were 4.5-foot planks of wood, like reflective tops on top of them. So it was kind of trippy as you walk through this bridge of planks that was stuck together with hinges. Well, me and my friends realized if you jump on one of the planks, the kid behind you is going to go flying and hit his head into the ceiling. So we'd stand there and wait. And here comes some unsuspecting kid, and we jump and whoa, boom. Slams his head into the ceiling. Like, you shouldn't have an amusement park that allows kids like me to do that shit to other people. That's Action Park.
I saw some kids like you at the park yesterday, and I kept thinking, where the fuck are these kids' parents?
We didn't have parents around. None of us did. I can't believe my generation, at least my pocket outside of Philadelphia, the shit that we did without parents, ever getting involved. I don't know where the parents were. To this day, I don't know. Maybe they were all giant swinger parties and we just didn't know. Maybe they were all doing like drugs and we just didn't know, because we just had our TV and amusement parks and the entire outside. We were allowed to wander. I almost went to different states on my bicycle. Like, you don't do that now.
No, not at all. Not at all. So it's probably better for that. So let me ask you the second part of that question. When's the last time you were at an amusement park?
Oh, I think when my son was 8, I think I went to Knoebels, which is just this. Yeah, it's this little small amusement park in a little wooded area of Pennsylvania. It's cute, quaint little spot, but it's not really an amusement park, like big rides, scary thrills, or nothing.
Oh, they got 2 good roller coasters at Knoebels that make national lists every year.
What?
Yeah, they do. The Phoenix is like one of the best rated wooden roller coasters in the country. I forget what their other one is. I haven't been there in years. We're talking about going up again this year. It'll be my kid's first time there. So it's been at least, like I said, 10, 11 years since I've been there. And probably even longer than that. It's probably closer to 15 years since I've been there. But they have some top rated roller coasters up there at Knoebels. And that's up in like the coal regions. Up near Centralia, where we talked about before. In fact, we always used to have to drive through Centralia to get to Knoebels, which was always like almost part of the attraction on the way there.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because I did the same thing. Let's just detour a little to see if we see any smoke coming from the ground. But that's it. I mean, you have years ahead of you to be excited about because your kids are getting older. My kid's in college. So I'm not seeing any amusement parks in my future, and I haven't seen one in 10 years. So that's it.
Was he a fan of thrill rides and roller coasters? He didn't really much care.
No, not particularly. He wasn't afraid of them, but he also wasn't dying to do them.
Right.
You know what I think he likes a lot more? The kinds of things that they had at Universal Studios.
Yes.
Like those kind of rides, like the Harry Potter ride and the Spider-Man ride, where things are more interactive and 3D or augmented reality.
This is a fantastic segue into my next point.
Ooh.
Those rides that you're describing right here, Universal, too much CGI, too much screens, not enough practical effects. I didn't see a single screen yesterday. Everything was just throwing my ass back into a seat, spinning me upside down. The adrenaline rush that you get off of that, insane. And like, it sounds like you fall into more of the category of my sister-in-law and her husband, who were also there with us yesterday. They're probably closer to your age range than mine. In fact, I think you might be their same age. And they went on a few roller coasters with us. But the one that blasts you off like 0 to 85 miles in 4 seconds, like a launch coaster, like there's no hill you go up. You just like pull out of the station. They say, ready, let's go. And you just blast off 0 to like 85 in like 4 seconds. They did that one ride and then they were like, yeah, we're going to go home now. Like they were not having fun. They said they never even opened their eyes. It was not, we weren't forcing them to do this. We told them many times, like, if this is how you feel, don't go on it. And they went on it. And then like They didn't hang for long after that. So I don't know if they shit their pants. They said they might. Nobody was visibly physically sick that I could see, but
Nobody was
they didn't.
stained up.
Nobody was stained up, but it didn't. The party was soon over after that.
Yeah, I relate to that. I'm them. I'm them now. Yeah, I had an experience at a carnival in one of those Ferris wheels that if you turn the wheel in your cart, you can spin the
Like the
cart.
bucket cars. Yes.
And a buddy of mine, we had a couple beers in us. We said, let's do it. This was just like a touring carnival type of deal. So it wasn't that big of a ride, but we got in it and we're dicking around and we're spinning that wheel. Dude, I got off that thing and I never felt worse. And I went home. I was like, my night's over. So
Yeah.
that's probably, now that I'm thinking about it, the last ride I've been on like that, because that was such a awful experience. So yeah, I'm just like your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you say spinning. I cannot spin. I do not like the Gravitron thing where you stick to the wall. Hershey Park used to have a thing called the Big Wheel, which was a huge version of what you're describing as far as what you went on at this carnival where you can like spin your own car. Teacups, shit like that. I cannot spin or I am losing my lunch shortly there afterwards. But I can do any kind of speed, any kind of drop, any kind of hill, any kind of anything else I'm down for. Spinning, I'm sitting that one out.
I remember being a kid and thinking Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was really extreme.
Well, you did go to hell in that ride.
Is that even around? I think they tore that one down.
So at Disney World in Florida, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is now The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So that shows about how thrilling Mr. Toad was, because it's kind of like a side-by-side comparison. But Mr. Toad still is in existence in Disneyland out in California.
And the Dumbo ride I loved because I could control it going up. I thought that was amazing.
See, I'm okay with that kind of spinning. Like if I'm like spinning like that far around, like in a diameter, I'm okay. Same with like the swings. I don't mind going on the swings. We did that up yesterday. But if I'm going on like the tilt-a-whirl or I'm like pivoting around one central part and like going fast around in circles, or the teacups or shit like that, done deal, pal.
Done deal, pal. They're spinning. They're spinning.
So yeah, just to summarize all that, with my theme parks, just like my movies, I like the practical effects more than the CGI. I have just come to that realization yesterday. I've also come to the realization how much more fun amusement parks can be when your kids actually want to do stuff and not sit on benches.
Yeah, you're more of a thrill ride guy. I definitely am appreciating the special effects. That Harry Potter ride blew me away. That Spider-Man ride blew me away. So I want to see more of that.
Well, and I do want to say I can appreciate that stuff, but that's not getting your adrenaline pumping the way that anything I went on yesterday is. When we got off of that one, it's called Storm Runner, where they just blast you off out of the station. I said to my sister-in-law's husband, I was like, that feeling, like any other time in life you get that feeling, something's about to go really, really wrong, really, really fast. So this is like the one time in life where you can like feel like you're going to die and then not. And to say all this, I'm not jumping out of an airplane anytime soon. Like, I don't want to do that kind of shit. But roller coasters is about my limit, and I thoroughly enjoyed it yesterday. And my voice is paying the price.
Maybe the difference is I've had a couple close calls on my motorcycle, so I'm pretty thrilled out. You know what I mean? That was thrilling in a bad way.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to ride a motorcycle. I feel like that would be not a controlled situation. I feel like you're very much at the whim of any other asshole driver around you. So I don't like that.
I don't like that either. So I never go on the motorcycle anymore.
But to your earlier point, these things are run by carnies, and how much control is there really?
Oh, you don't trust the carnies?
No, I mean, and going back, these permanent places, amusement parks, Six Flags, Hershey, Dorney, even Disney, these have a lot more credibility in my mind than the boardwalk places, than the touring carnivals and fairs and festivals you can see around your town. Yeah, and it probably does come down to, one, the permanent rides aren't being driven around on the back of a truck on the highway every other weekend. And two, the people that they're hiring probably just didn't get done smoking crack in the bathroom.
Probably not.
Oh, shit. This is a big one.
Oh, you know what the fuck uppery is?
Yeah, and you kind of talked me out of the fuck uppery, and I doubled down on it. But even if I would have went with you, it still would have been wrong. I have to apologize to our loyal listener, Tim, brother Tim, who I misidentified as Jim last week. We said we were very proud that we had no fuck upperies last week, and I had made the joke that, yeah, meanwhile, Jim's at home smashing away on his keyboard, letting us know the 19 different things we fucked up. His name's not Jim, it's Tim. And as I said it, you said, is it Jim or is it Jay? And I was like, no, definitely Jim. I just edited the episode of Jim all the way. And then I was like, hey, I think you said, wouldn't it be funny if that was a fuck upper? And I was like, well, I'd be very meta, very meta. And here we are.
Yeah, we both had it wrong. Yeah, no, his name is Tim Yoke. And he always writes in when Scott fucks up, and I love it. I encourage him. I go, yeah, keep your eye open for more. And then you fucked his name up. And I love that it happened. I love that it happened. And I know a Jay Yoke. So I was like, yeah, I think his name is Jay. No, thank you, Tim. It is so. And then, so I'm really bad sometimes. I'm trying to get better at checking my Facebook messengers. I got so many damn things, ringing and trying to get my attention. But he writes this message the other day when we were fucked up because we were late. It was my fault. And he writes his message and it's in a language I can't understand. So I translate it. And it turns out it was in Estonian because we talked about how we had lost our 4 fans from Estonia. And I had to translate it. And it says, Estonian detected. Here's the English translation. We are ordering a search party to come to the United States as we didn't see the podcast this morning. We were very worried. And I just think that was funny as hell. So, Tim, I'm so sorry. We fucking forgot your name.
I think it's funnier that I got it wrong. And the guy pointing out the most fuck uppery has now himself become a fuck uppery. And I enjoy that more than anything.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tim. You made us laugh, man. That was really good. Mail, motherfucker. Oh, now it's mail time. I got a great piece of mail from my friend Michelle. Right? Oh. We have brother Steve, we have brother Dan, we have brother Tim. Do we get sister Michelle? I think we call her brother Michelle. So it's 2023. I think we can do that now, right? She's brother Michelle, and that's okay.
Sure.
So brother Michelle has said, so when are you going to talk about those awesome 80s movies that were mythical, had sorcery, and had one of the first dragons on camera? You know what I'm talking about. Here are a few examples. And she gave us a great list of examples. And then she goes on, talks about some other things. One of note being the Dungeons and Dragons movie that just came out. I watched that. Did you watch that yet?
No, I saw it's on streaming, but I think it's on one of the streaming services that I don't get. I think it might be Paramount or something, but I haven't checked it out yet, no. But I've heard good things from people that actually played D&D.
I watched it. I barely paid attention to it. At one point, I noticed there was another group of people.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you already heard about this? All right. Well, here's a spoiler. 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to give people enough time to go pause their podcast. They all of a sudden pan to the back, and if you look real carefully, you see one of the groups of people in the background, the kids from the cartoon.
Yeah, the 1980s cartoon we were talking about. They make a cameo appearance in the background, and it's an if you blink and you'll miss it kind of moment, but they are there, so they did pay homage to the D&D that came before.
When I see those kind of references, it really makes me think, like, who's going to get that? Who really remembers them? You know, when I was watching that Shazam 2, they were making references to like shit nobody knows because nobody's really a Shazam fan. You'll never meet a Shazam fan, so I don't even know why they're making these movies. But they're winking to things that happened in like Shazam episode 4 that is so obscure and nobody's going to remember it. Was it even worth crowbarring in the Easter egg? I don't know.
Having not seen it, from what I understand about the Dungeons and Dragons cameo, it's not crowbarred in so much as it's just something that's in the background.
Yeah, fair in that case.
But there are times, though, to your point, where they really go out of their way to fit something in, and it's like, that was a long walk for a little payoff.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is my dollar I'm spending to watch this thing. Treat me right. Don't waste my time. This is a good list. So let's see if we can think of any that she didn't cover. And we're talking about fantasy movies, 80s movies, dragons, sorcerers, wizards, all those things. Lady Hawk. I never saw that one.
That didn't ring a bell for me.
I remember it, but I never saw it. I remember the box at the video store. Dragon Slayer, that was a big one. She wrote all-time favorite. Yeah, Dragon Slayer was a big one. Have you seen that one?
I've seen it, but when I saw this list, the first thing I thought was, I got to do a lot of watching and rewatching of these movies to have enough to actually talk about, have an educated conversation.
Well, this is definitely homework for both of us. There's a few here that I haven't seen in a long time, and I want to see these again. Legend, that one I've actually seen kind of recently. Tim Curry, he's amazing in that.
Yeah, that didn't ring a bell for me. I don't. And she even said just for Tim Curry alone, and I was like, I should know this, and I don't.
Oh, you'll see it. Go look up Legend. It's a Tom Cruise movie. Tim Curry's in it. I feel like Jennifer Connelly. No, somebody else. Mia, the girl from Ferris Bueller's in it.
Oh, okay.
Such a good movie. Such a great movie. And as soon as you see Tim Curry's evil demon, you're going to go, oh, I've seen that guy before. Here's another one. Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie.
This one I don't know. The Last Unicorn. She says a cartoon called The Last Unicorn.
I've seen this. It's, again, very long time ago that I've seen this, but I have seen this before.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I wasn't that into unicorns.
She had The Hobbit listed on there as well, right? Like the Hobbit cartoon.
No, I think she missed that one.
Oh, okay.
But does that count? Technically, yeah. I think it does.
That was like a Rankin Bass cartoon. That was like from the people that made the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman. Like that's the production company that made that first Hobbit cartoon. And that thing was fucking dark. You wanted to talk about how like a lot of early 80s stuff was like gritty and dark. That was definitely filling that category.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen that. Now that you're bringing it up, that's going to have to be a watch. Put that on my 2BQ.
2BQ? That just sounds hilarious.
The Dark Crystal, right? That's a well-known one.
Another Muppet movie.
Yeah, The Never-Ending Story. That's a well-known one.
You know what? I know it. I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through.
Wow.
I know.
That one is a must-watch. Go catch up on that. Princess Bride. That's everybody's favorite movie.
Yeah, I could talk about that right now.
Oh, here's Time Bandits. That's the one I talked about that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't talk about that one. She put that on the list just to traumatize me. She knows it scares me. Excalibur. I tried so many times to get through Excalibur. Boy, that's rough. That probably hit perfectly if you were of the right age when that came out, but that one's a tough one to watch now. Big production, though, if I'm remembering it right.
Never saw it. Was this like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table and getting Excalibur and that kind of fantasy?
Couldn't tell you what the plot is.
Okay.
Probably the traditional story that you're outlining there. Conan the Barbarian, loved all those.
Yeah.
Dune, just talked about that last week or the week before. Yeah, it didn't land for me.
It's a tough one. I couldn't get through it.
I knew there were kids, too, that were like, Dune's the greatest. I'm like, no. I'm stuck on Star Wars. I'm not going to Dune.
Yeah.
Here's Beastmaster.
Oh.
Everybody does Beastmaster. That was a big one. And then they made a couple terrible sequels. That was funny to watch how that just went off the rails. But Beastmaster, the first Beastmaster, that movie was a big production.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one I like. Krull. Oh, Krull. I can't believe Krull. She remembered Krull. I got to go watch that again. Remember that weapon the guy had? It was like I was fascinated by Chinese stars. All those ninja movies and going to like farmers markets. And you always found them there, like legitimate looking Chinese stars. And talk about things we were allowed to do in the 80s. My parents didn't care. Like, go buy as many fucking knives and Chinese stars as you want. Get some size while you're at it. There's a katana blade. Have it. Like I would buy these Chinese stars, and that Krull thing, when the blades would come out of that, I just thought that was the most badass weapon in the world. I thought about that weapon all the time.
I remember seeing it and thinking, like, how would that work? Like, after you like lunge it into somebody and then it's just going to come out easily? Are you going to have to like put your foot down and like yank it out? Like, how is that going to work logistically?
And he would always catch it like it never cut his fingers off.
Exactly. I always thought that exact same thing about the Predator. When the Predator took that thing out that had like the spinning blade on the outside and he throws it in the meat freezer and it cuts that guy in half, you see his legs drop and a bunch of blood come down. And he caught that thing again. How the fuck did he catch it without cutting his fingers off?
Right. I remember in Krull, they had that Cyclops and he was holding up the door that was coming down to crush everybody.
Yeah.
And he was able to get like the crew through and then he couldn't get through and it crushed him. And that fucked me up as a kid. I remember going, so like the mass has to go somewhere, right? Eventually it gets crushed, but like it can't get fully crushed and just evaporate into. So I was just concentrating on what a body would be like being crushed. And to this day, whenever I see somebody crushed in an action movie, I go right back to that. So, like, could the thing go all the way? Technically, it couldn't go all the way down. It couldn't
No,
be stone to stone. There would have to be a lot of meat in between. But you never see that in the movie.
that was a Cyclops sandwich.
It's the weird shit. But there were so many like trash compactor scenes in the 80s. There was so much of that crushing you with the spikes coming down in Indiana Jones.
Sure.
Yeah, that's something I thought about a lot for some fucking reason. Pro. How about Red Sonja?
I'm less familiar with this. You mentioned Red Sonja when we were talking about Brigitte Nielsen the other episode, and I knew the reference, but I don't know the movie.
Yeah, I don't remember it very well. I know Conan was in it for a hot minute, and that's it.
And was it her? Was it Brigitte Nielsen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one might be worth a rewatch. She writes Highlander. I never got into Highlander.
I knew Highlander. It was, yeah, it was. I don't know what more to say about it. Like it didn't. So here's how I watched it. I watched it as, oh, that's the guy that plays Raiden in Mortal Kombat.
Right. Yeah. Same. Yeah, they made part 1 and part 2, and then there was a TV show, and I didn't care for any of it.
I remember the bad guy. The bad guy in the movie had like his neck was like stitched together, like he like slit his throat, or somebody slit his throat at one point. But Highlanders can't die, and there can be only one.
What if you put a Highlander in like a crushing door scenario, and the thing crushes him all the way down to meat? Will that kill him?
I apparently not. Weren't Highlanders immortal? The only way you can be killed is if you were killed, like slain by another Highlander. I think it's been a while.
We need a podcast that talks about all of these amazing questions that have never been answered. What happens to a Highlander if you crush him down to a slice of bologna? These are questions the world needs answered.
Many have thought, few have asked.
How many Highlanders were there? I think that was another one like Beastmaster that made a few more and nobody noticed.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right, here's the last one she's got. And this one, maybe, I think about this sometimes. I should have gone and watched this movie, but I don't think I've ever had the interest to get all the way through it. Willow.
Oh, I could talk about Willow all day.
We were just talking about the show and how Disney shelved it for a while, and I didn't care. I was like, Willow, I don't care. Why is it good?
I didn't care about the series, but the movie was funny, I felt. Yeah, Val Kilmer was great in it. Mad Morgan was his character. He was almost like a Han Solo type. Warwick Davis was great in it. They had two little guys that were like, they were called brownies, and they were like the comic relief. They were like French Canadian. It was almost like Canadian Bacon with Rick Moranis and John Candy a little bit. Like it was a weird comedy duo feel they had going on there, but definitely had French accents. It was just a good story.
Who made that movie?
I don't know. I guess it was Disney. Maybe not Disney at the time. Disney owns it now, so one of the things they absorbed over the years.
But I, for some reason, think like Lucas was involved or Spielberg.
I could see it being like an Amblin film.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But did you watch that new show?
No, I had no interest in the new show. I thought that the movie did a great job just describing everything.
I guess nobody had interest in that show. And that's another one. It makes you wonder, like, what were they thinking? Why did they think there was a demand for Willow? Did anybody go and survey 50 people at the mall and say, would you download Willow on Disney Plus? I mean, why did they think people were looking for Willow?
Why do you think there's people at the mall?
Good point. I have no comeback there. Well played. And with that, thank you, brother Michelle. That is a good list. I think I named everything you gave me here. If you can think of some that we missed, write in. We'd love to hear what we missed. We'll read it.
I see a future episode.
Well, how about we move into the news, Scott?
Yeah, let's do it.
There's a problem.
Oh,
It's been kind of a slow news week. It's one of those fucking weeks where I'm looking for news stories throughout the day. You know, I love to read the fucking Google Discovers we've talked about, and usually it gives me tons of news stories that I can use. But it's like every news story that I clicked this week turned out to be bullshit.
yes, I've experienced the same thing. I'll also read through my Google Discover. I'll find something interesting. There were probably about 5 times where I read the headline and I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I'll forward that to Bill. I open the story and I'm like, This is complete clickbait. This has nothing to do with what the headline said it was going to. So not only is it a slow content news story for us, clearly these same writers that are relying on Hollywood news, they're having the same problem because they're coming out with bullshit.
Not to get political, but I think it's one of the biggest problems in the fucking world right now. People don't have that much time to read the right things, the proper things, the things that are not bullshit. So people read headlines and what, media companies are doing. And I work in marketing, so I know how this is. We're vying for your attention and we're getting sleazy. We're starting to write headlines that just get your attention and try to get that click. And it's not about being quality content. It's just about getting that click. And everybody's heard that word clickbait, but clickbait comes in lots of different forms. It can be legitimate looking or it can just be outlandish. What I'm falling for now is the legitimate looking stuff. Like, we have a new Iron Man. I'm like, oh my God, that's like a casting. They know that that's what I think. And then you go there and you find out that one of the comic books is introducing a new Iron Man suit, and it's like, but come on, you knew that when you wrote that headline, you were trying to get clicks from Marvel fans who wanted to see what's going on with Robert Downey Jr. That's the kind of example that I have, just off the top of my head, but it's becoming a real fucking problem. It's getting bad.
I have another example here. I saw a headline and it said, latest trailer introduces the new big bad in the latest Ghostbusters. So I look at it and I'm like, oh shit, like this looks, first of all, the picture they showed looked pretty terrible. And if it wasn't a movie, I was clicking on it to be like, this looks awful. So what it turns out is they're coming out with a new VR game for the Oculus and the Oculus 2 or, whatever the VR playing systems are now. And they released a trailer that shows who the final boss is going to be in this. And for those interested, it's a combination of Slimer and Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Apparently, some scientist in life, now deceased, now has vengeance on the Ghostbusters for, I'm guessing, them busting him. He combines Slimer and Stay Puft to one being, and now that's the end boss of this video game. But
God, that's fucking boring. What a dumb, boring idea.
It looks dumb.
Nobody's got any good ideas anymore, I guess.
It looks like something out of Ninja Turtles. But to your point, goddamn well when they wrote that headline about trailer reveals new big bad for the newest Ghostbusters, everybody's thinking it's going to be the movie. Nobody's thinking it's going to be the next VR video game. Like, who gives a shit about that? But guess what? They got my click.
Well, I'm learning too how much just junk is in most of these articles. You queue these things up and you're like, I'm going to read it at some point today, whether I'm on the toilet or first thing in the morning or, going to bed. And you read these articles and you're like, all right, well, I spent an hour reading it, but what did I really learn? Like I took away 2% actual good shit and 98% fluff. So I've been doing, and we've talked about it on the show, I've been doing that AI shit. I love using Chat GPT. And I even sent it to you. Go to bard.google.com and see if you're into their beta program. That's your free version of ChatGPT, and it's working super well. So take an article, just take the URL of the article and they call it Bard. Go to Google's Bard, type summarize and then paste the URL, and it's going to give you a summary of just what's important. That's what I've been doing for news stories for the last month. And you realize, wow, it just crunched 10,000 words into 2 sentences because there's really only 2 sentences of information in these articles. That's such a waste of fucking time.
Yeah, to your point, there's times where it actually is a legitimate story, but to fill words, to get like search engine friendly words in the story, like they'll talk about like, oh, for example, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which is an amusement park that opened at Disney 5 years ago, and they give you like this entire fucking summary. You can scroll 3/4 through the story to get to the actual point of the story that you clicked on to read in the first place. It's so fucking annoying.
Have you fallen into those articles yet that are like, here's 50 celebrities without their makeup, and you're like, oh yeah, I want to see that, and you click it, and it's like,
no,
yeah.
I don't do them. They're very blatantly, obviously clickbait.
Yeah, but I want to see. So I go in and it's like, click the next page to see the first celebrity. I'm like, oh, I hate these, because then you click the next page and like 20 ads show up and you see one celebrity, and then it's like, click the next page and see the next celebrity. Like, God damn it, how long am I going to do this? Click the next page, take 10 seconds to load the page because all fucking more ads show up and more money's being made. Yeah, that's the worst kind of clickbait, but sometimes they have interesting topics.
How about the classic top 20 sports photos taken at the exact right moment?
Yeah, that's a good one. That'll suck me in. Yeah, that'll get me.
I've never clicked on it.
I always like, you'll never believe this actually got aired, and it'll be like a thumbnail of like crazy cleavage on a woman, and you're like, oh, let me see what got aired. And then you watch the video or read the article, and there's nothing like that. It's somebody said, shit on the air or something. Uh, I fall for it all. I got to say, too, and this isn't pop culture related, phishing attempts are getting really goddamn good. I've
Yeah.
been aware of phishing since day one because I work on the internet forever. But I've seen some come through that I'm like, oh, yeah, this one's going to get a lot of people. They are getting really slick.
They really are.
One of my photography websites got hacked, and I just saw it the other day, and somebody had hacked it in and created, I think it was like 2,000 pages of casino sites. And with SEO, which is obviously what they were trying to do, is get these pages to rank or drive links from my site to other sites. It just created web spam. And now I had 2,000 pages that I didn't even know were on my site. I mean, the spammers can press a button and like that,
Yep.
2,000 pages are made. And I'm just like, man, if these guys, these scammers who could figure out how to do this and hack my little fucking dog shit site, if they just put their mind to good things, like we'd be way more advanced as a society. They are incredibly intelligent, some of these fucking scammers.
Yeah, for sure. But we did find some real news this week, didn't we?
Yeah, we found a little bit, and I put it right through that Google Bard. In fact, why don't we start with a Google Bard readout?
All right. So we talked about Google Bard before, back when ChatGPT first came out and they put it on the Bing search engine. And Google kind of released Bard as a way to catch up and be like, oh, no, wait, we're doing our thing too. We're going to release it right now. And this is when they were getting some hilarious, fucking inappropriate results and things like that. And the link you sent me for Meet Bard and bard.google.com, Bard is an experiment and may give inaccurate or inappropriate responses. So I love that they kind of threw that in there just as a disclaimer that you can help make it better by using it and giving us your feedback, but you might get some fucked up results is basically what they're saying here.
Yeah, and what I like better about Google Bard is it's using Google's information, where ChatGPT only has a subset of documentation that it can use. And
Right.
anything new is not in its brain. Anything new is in Google's brain, and then Google can push it into their AI. So yeah, that whole catastrophe that we talked about weeks ago, that's history. Like, that's ancient history. They've already tightened it up, and now it's a pretty usable product. Yeah. Bard.google.com. I was telling my wife about it. She's like, what would I use this for? I'm like, ask it anything. Ask it, for 10 ideas of, how to make your coworker laugh every day. Like, it'll just be able to answer everything with some degree of usefulness.
Let's see what it gave us here.
So I just basically popped in ghostbusternews.com in this URL, and I said, summarize. So here we go. Ghostbusters sequel filming has seemingly arrived in New York City. The iconic Ecto-1 was seen racing through city streets on Saturday morning, garnering a lot of attention on social media. Filming is said to have taken place throughout Midtown Manhattan. The Ecto-1 appeared to have some noticeable changes, including additional red paint details. It is unclear what the changes mean for the upcoming sequel, but fans are excited to see what the new Ghostbusters team will be up to. I didn't know they were filming this already. I didn't know this was actually a greenlit project. I assumed after the last Ghostbusters, what was that, Afterlife?
Yeah.
I mean, they set it up for a sequel.
Sure.
But how cool. People are seeing this thing zipping around, and yeah, they're probably in the shot. There probably cameras all over the side streets, and people are witnessing the filming of the movie. That's killer. That's fun.
I learned something else from this story, too, that I didn't realize was a thing. And I don't know, maybe you'll have an answer. So June 8th, which is coming up this Thursday, I believe, is Ghostbuster Day. Much how May the 4th is Star Wars Day, Ghostbusters has June 8th. And I don't know the relevance of June 8th or anything, or if it's just an arbitrarily chosen day. But June 8th is Ghostbuster Day. So they're saying this could have also been something to do with Ghostbuster Day and not have anything to do with the new Ghostbusters movie.
So I just asked Google Bard, why is June 8th Ghostbuster Day? And I was told June 8th is Ghostbusters Day because it is the date that the original Ghostbusters movie was released in theaters in 1984. The film was
Okay.
a critical and commercial success, spawning a franchise that includes 2 sequels, a cartoon series, video games, and live action television series. It's telling me a lot of shit. Okay, we go. Okay. In honor of the film's release, fans around the world celebrate Ghostbusters Day with screenings of the film, cosplay events, and other activities. The day has also been recognized by the city of New York, which has declared it Ghostbusters Day in 2016.
Okay. So there's nothing in universe that makes June 8th mean anything. It's the real world release of the movie.
Yeah, looks that way.
I may be biased, but I think May the 4th is cooler.
That is cooler. That is cooler.
Then they also have Revenge of the 5th the following day.
That I didn't hear. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, they've done that the past few years here.
See, I like May because I get May the 4th memes, but I can't stand that one fucking meme that I see every goddamn, it's gonna be May.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Justin Timberlake, NSYNC. Yeah. Fucking hate it. So to talk more about the new Ghostbusters movie, there is story released that they are going to be returning back to the Big Apple. They're coming back to New York. They're no longer in Oklahoma. And I hear it's going to be a different subset of kids that is being led by Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd.
They're probably done with Bill Murray, right?
No, Bill Murray is actually named in the cast as well.
God, the more I read about how fucking horrible he is to people, I mean, stories are still coming out. And I just saw him in that Ant-Man, and I'm like, wow, this is a controversial actor right now. But he was a dick. What a dick. I was just watching something the other day. It had Richard Dreyfuss talking about when he was on, was it What About Bob? He was in with him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he just got done doing Jaws. You know, he had a little bit of fucking panache, right? He had a little bit of shit going on. And I guess Bill Murray didn't like that. So Bill Murray goes nose to nose to him. Nobody fucking likes you. And just goes off on the guy.
Wow.
Just destroys the guy. He's like, what the fuck is... So this guy, Bill Murray, must have some really bipolar, right? I mean, he just borderline personality, just snaps. And this is not a unknown thing, apparently. It's just now starting to bubble up in pieces. But go Google it. You'll hear celebrities talking about it. They're like, yeah, we're talking about this now? Okay, Bill Murray sucks ass. He's horrible. So I'm not a Bill Murray fan anymore. I'm a little bit down on him because I don't like people that are bad guys, you know, winning in Hollywood, winning at anything. I loved his movies. I was a huge fan of his, but everything I'm hearing has changed everything for me. I get very sensitive to stuff like that. I don't like Will Smith anymore either.
Bullies. Don't have time for bullies in Hollywood.
I got no patience for Hollywood bullies. Speaking of Hollywood bullies, here's an interesting article. Mark Wahlberg wants to create a new film and television production hub in Nevada away from what he calls woke California. The actor and producer met with Nevada state lawmakers on Tuesday to lobby for a bill that would increase tax credits for film production in the state. Wahlberg said he believes Nevada could become a Hollywood 2.0 if the state offers more competitive tax incentives than California. California has become a very difficult place to make movies, Wahlberg said. It's become very political, very woke, and it's not a place that's very welcoming to people who want to make movies. And that's kind of the thing I've been hearing. Like, there's a lot of bullying, and it's got to be this, and you know, the art and the creativity is really not there right now because it's so political in Hollywood. So it's interesting that he's saying that. He's coming out and saying, you know, I'm against the woke thing. The woke thing is a polarizing term. Interesting that he's coming right at it. And he's saying, no, I don't want to make movies in a woke world. So let's create a second Hollywood. What a interesting idea. Is it a good idea?
I was going to say, it feels like I'm going to take my ball and go home. People don't agree with me. I'm going to make my own thing.
The bill is currently being considered by the Nevada State Assembly. If it passes, it would go to the state Senate for further consideration. And that's big to Hollywood. Hollywood is always looking for places that will give them tax breaks. I know there was a big period of time, and maybe it's no longer the case, but they would go to Vancouver, Canada, because you got really favorable rates there. Taxes and things like that were in your favor there. So even here where we live, there's a town called Doylestown. And I was hearing for a while that Hollywood was working with Doylestown and Bucks County to try to get favorable tax rates and things like that. And in return, they'll bring their Hollywood productions to town. town likes that because it stimulates the local economy. So I got real excited. I was like, holy shit, we're going to have a mini Hollywood in our backyard. Never happened, never, came to be, but Bucks County's got tons of beautiful locations. So why not make mini Hollywoods all around?
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, he really brought a lot of stuff to the Philadelphia and surrounding area. They shot quite a few films, but that's just because he's from the area. I don't know if that had any. We've talked before, even they shot locally here in Berks County. I think that was just more because this is where he grew up and where he came up. Not so much about the taxes, but yeah, things have happened. Things can be filmed anywhere.
Shazam 2, I watched it last night. I was talking about it earlier. That was filmed. I didn't even know. That was Philadelphia based. The
Yeah,
whole franchise is, I didn't even know that from the first one. I must have hated the first one so much that I forgot. But it was fun to watch them fly around, and there's City Hall, and there's the Comcast building, and all those things. It's fun to see it. But I'm not sure it was actually really shot here. It was probably shot somewhere else where it was cheaper and CGI'd to look like Philadelphia.
yeah. Like I said, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Rarely shot in Philadelphia.
I just asked Google Bard, or Bard, whatever we're calling this thing. Where was Shazam 2 shot? The film's director, David F. Sandberg, said he chose Atlanta because it is a great place to make movies. The city has a variety of locations that can be used for filming, and it also offers a number of tax incentives for film production. Right, Atlanta. I should have thought of that one. That's where all the Marvel guys go. That's where all the Marvel shoots are done. And that's why they get tax incentives. Speaking of commercials and speaking of Shazam, boy, I can't get Shazam 2 out of this podcast. They had a scene in this movie. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. They had a scene in this movie where the kid literally tries to attract a unicorn. Okay, stay with me. And instead of having ambrosia, which they say unicorns love, and I don't know if that's like a traditional thing, but they made a point of that. Well, they didn't have ambrosia, but the little girl had a bag of Skittles. And she throws them in the air, and the unicorn treats it like ambrosia. And she literally says, taste the rainbow. And you go, oh my God, this is the most blatant product placement I've ever seen in my fucking, like it stops the unicorn dead in its tracks, changes the unicorn's personality. It's ridiculous. I get it. I get you want product placement. You need a couple bucks to help make this movie. Totally get it. Put it in there. Fine. Just don't make it that fucking blatant. And then later on, the kid does it twice. But this time she goes, taste the rainbow, motherfucker. And then like gets cut off to make it like cute that this little kid almost said a bad word. And I'm like, so you did the reference twice. You got paid again. And this time you wanted to associate the brand with a little kid saying motherfucker. It was all just strange, man. Just strange. And by the way, I don't find it cute at all that a little kid says motherfucker. Like, that's a very gross and aggressive term to me. I don't find it cute when a little kid says that. Now it's associated with fucking Skittles for me. There you go.
I hate everything you just told me about this movie.
You got to see it now. You got to see if what I'm telling you is true.
Why would you make that up? That would be lazy storytelling on your part.
Yeah, I'm known to be lazy.
That's awful.
So here's an item. We talked about how excited we were for that Beetlejuice 2. And you had asked, if I remember, is Catherine O'Hara coming back? Is Gina Davis coming back? Is the gunslinger coming back? So we got a little bit more information. You know who the gunslinger is?
No.
Alec Baldwin.
Oh, okay. I'm with you.
That's a whole other story we haven't talked about. I feel for that guy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a quick minute. I want to know where your head's at on that. So I'm not totally caught up on the latest, but the point is the guy had a real gun. They use real guns in Hollywood now to show authenticity. Didn't we learn our lesson with Brandon Lee? Like, they used a real gun that had fakes in it or blanks in it, but there was still debris in it. So when they fired the gun, the debris fired out. These are real guns.
Yeah.
And if they're not really fully taken care of perfectly, they're going to have an accident. When you have a bunch of people on a set, a lot of people don't do things perfectly. Sometimes people fuck up. If you ever worked at a job, even the smart people fuck up once in a while. So when it comes to like these real guns, they gave this guy the gun, from my understanding, this guy being Alec Baldwin, and he's doing what he thought to do. He's doing what he's done a billion times in his action movies, and he kills somebody. I don't know this guy. He seems like a decent dude. I know somebody played football with him. He was a little aggressive. Okay. But he otherwise seems like a decent dude, but he just killed somebody.
Yeah.
He's got to be going through hell right now. I would be.
Absolutely. And then they were pulling him into civil suits and things like that for wrongful death and things like that. But my understanding is And I've done some reading, but not a whole lot of reading on this. I know we were going to be talking about this today, but he wasn't being sued as an actor. He was being sued because of his role as a producer on the set. And they're saying that if the
Ah,
set was truly unsafe, you as a production person should have had the responsibility to ensure the safety. So the fact that he pulled the trigger and stuff, that's not why they were coming after him, is my understanding. It was because the arms, I guess they have like an armorer on the set, and they were saying she was very inexperienced. Early when this whole thing went down, I also had read stories that they would take these set guns off because this was shooting in the deserts. They would take it off into the desert and they were actually like shooting cans and bottles with real ammo. So there could have been live ammo in one of these guns from that. This could have not been debris like it was with Brandon Lee, like you mentioned. This could have actually been a bullet. I don't know, but there were a lot of stories going around. But my understanding is that the lawsuit was because of Alec Baldwin's production title, not as lead.
I'm glad you shared that because I don't think I had that detail.
Yeah.
And that really clears a lot up because I was reading a ton of things about like Alec Baldwin's in a ton of trouble. And I'm just like, I hope he's not.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're the boss of the show, you're paying, you know, yeah. Well, I get that then. Then it's like if someone gets hurt at work, you're responsible as the business owner.
Yeah. And it was definitely that because after that, I read a bunch of stories. It was like, what does it mean? Like, what are your responsibilities as a producer on a movie set? And it went into like, are you just a financial backer? Are you truly involved in the product? It was all kinds of different scenarios and ifs and what does it mean and what's your involvement and things like that. So that was definitely trying to clear up what it even means to be a producer in Hollywood.
Well, returning it back to Beetlejuice. So I don't think from this article, I don't think he's in it, who we're talking about, Alec Baldwin. But let me just read the summary here. Beetlejuice 2 is officially happening, as we talked about on the show, and the original cast is returning. Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder are set to reprise their roles as Beetlejuice and Lydia Dietz, respectively, in the sequel. The film will be directed by Tim Burton, who also directed the original film. Here's some new information. In addition to Keaton and Ryder, Beetlejuice 2 will also star Brendan Fraser, who will play a new character named The Mummy. The film will also feature several new characters, including a teenage Lydia Dietz. And it also says here, so we were talking about Catherine O'Hara, and it sounds like she's returning.
Yeah, who else is going to be in this?
Who?
Willem Dafoe, who we talked about in previous episodes.
Willem Dafoe. He's great.
Willem Dafoe is going to be in it. He's going to be, I believe, a detective or some kind of police force in the afterlife.
He ought to just sit on that couch and be like one of the, like that Beetlejuice guy that was there, and then just like pan by and you see the legs. Weren't there just legs?
It was a magician, and she was a magician's assistant, where the legs were on one side of the couch and the torso was on the other side of the couch.
Perfect. And then you just pan by and Willem Dafoe's just there.
Just with no makeup.
And then you pan by him, no makeup, ugly as sin, looking like a monster from the afterlife. And they just pass right by him and they go to the next ghoul. Oh, that would be the funniest thing ever.
That would be a great cameo, just for anybody. They're just sitting there. Because the best part about that waiting room was that, like, all those characters had very intriguing backstories that you could only deduct from, like, how they looked and what their scars were and what was that story. And then you span by and, like, Willem Dafoe sitting there. Like, that would be hilarious to me.
My favorite thing is that little guy with the small head, the head shrinker guy. He was he was the inspiration for the naming of Beetlejuice on the Howard Stern show.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
They didn't know his actual name. They were just one day going, yeah, he's got that little head like the guy in the movie Beetlejuice. And now they just start calling him Beetlejuice.
Hey, you gotta wake up in the morning and eat coffee, brother.
What a great character. He was in a couple movies. He was in Bubble Boy and Scary Movie 2.
Bubble Boy is the one I remember him from.
What a thespian. Yeah, he's not even on the Stern show anymore. He's practically like, he's a big star on TikTok now. He doesn't need Stern. Other people think he's fascinating on TikTok.
Really? Wow. I had no idea.
Speaking of Beetlejuice, all right, I got something for all of you. This should have been early on in this show's agenda. I saw something yesterday. You got to look up this movie starring Weng Weng. Weng, Weng. I saw it on the Bad Movie Bible. This is an amazing show. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, this one guy, this British guy, I love the work that he does. He just goes, that was awful. I love doing bad British impressions, and I'm glad that one was just the worst one I've done. So he gets on and he just goes through all of these amazing movies. Some I've seen, most I haven't, and just dissects the shit out of them. So yesterday I was watching bad 007 ripoffs across the globe, right? All terrible B movies where, in Indonesia they ripped off fucking American films. Yeah, we know that that's how it used to get done. They ripped off Star Wars, they ripped off Superman, trademark infringement like crazy around the country. But Weng Weng was their attempt of trying to rip off, there being whoever it was who was trying to make this, but Weng Weng, okay, he's about the size of Beetlejuice, and he's a karate expert, and he runs around in these movies. For example, one of the movies is called For Your Height Only, because he's very small.
Oh my!
But he runs around and he kicks so much ass. He kicks everybody in the balls, Scott. All he can do is kick people in the balls. And he jumps around and kicks in the balls. And it is one of the funniest fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. And I've only seen the trailers and clips from the movie based on this guy's show. Just look up Weng Weng trailers. Look up For Your Height Only.
Like, I almost have to question, is this a ripoff of 007 or is this a ripoff of Austin Powers?
Yeah, well, I think Austin Powers is a ripoff of 007. No, this is a ripoff of 007, not Austin Powers. This thing is trying to, I guess it's self-aware, but they made a sequel. They made The Impossible Kid, and then they made one called Agent 00. Like, you just got to go see Weng Weng.
Oh my God.
He has makeout scenes. Like, it's crazy how serious they take this guy. They cannot make this now. This is a holy shit. I can't believe they ever got away with this.
So the fact that they took it that seriously is probably what makes it a ripoff and not a parody. Like, Austin Powers is a parody of 007. It's very self-aware. It's very over the top. It's a comedic take on it. Weng Weng sounds like this is trying to earnestly be 007 and is ripping off every aspect of that formula.
It's hard to say watching this movie if they were taking it seriously or not. It's so poorly made. I see where you're going now. Like, yeah, I have no idea what the intention was. Just trust me. Look up Weng Weng For Your Height Only. And maybe The Impossible Kid. All right, back to news coverage. How about that new Spider-Man movie, man? That's kicking ass. That thing is a absolute success.
It's
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse swings the best opening of the summer year to date with 120 million plus, beating Guardians of the Galaxy, which I absolutely forgot was out.
Yeah, just came out.
Now, this is a review from my brother. It's amazing. It's full of surprises, full of cameos, full of Easter eggs, but in a good way. And yeah, I'm into that. Give me things that blow me away so I walk out and go, I didn't see that coming. And that's what we don't get very often. But this is a superhero movie that kind of is in the face of everything we said earlier. This is a superhero movie that is 100% different than all the others. But it's also a cartoon, so, I guess it doesn't really fit in the same. It's not apples to apples.
Yeah, but it's not apples to, like, onions. I mean, it's similar. It's not completely off the wall. It still has writers. It still has actors, albeit voice actors. But they can still write a good story, which is what makes it definitely not apples to apples. How much do you and Jim's taste in movies match up?
Yeah, my brother and I have always had the same taste. And when he groans at something, I'm usually like, yeah, wasn't so great. So, yeah, an endorsement from him is exciting.
So that's different because me and my brother, we very seldom agree on movies. He says I think everything sucks. I just tell him my bar's a little bit higher to clear than his.
That's funny how you two grew up together and you just have different tastes. I find that interesting. It's like you both watched the same things. You both had the same stimulus. You both had the same environment and you came out different.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where he said he'll never go to the movies with me again. We walked out of The Matrix 2 with him telling me it was the best thing he's ever seen. And I was like, that was dog shit. And we've had some heated arguments about why he was right and why I was right and point and counterpoint. And he was like, you're just an asshole. I'm never going to the movies with you again. I'm okay.
Well, how about we do this? And we're going to close with this idea. I hope everybody out there does this. Let's have a party. Let's have a Weng Weng party. Let's everybody get our families and friends together and don't tell them what you're about to watch. Just like the old days, Scott, when we watched Rat Finger Boo Boo and Thanksgiving. Let's have a Weng Weng party. We're going to watch for your height only. We're going to invite your brother. Everybody's going to come. Everybody. And we're just going to put it on, and we're going to make everybody watch it. And we're going to talk about it on the air. Let's make this happen. A Weng Weng party.
And we have to do like live reactions too. I want to have some sound drops of live reactions of like when the first scene happens and like the introduction and like post-credit wrap-up. I want to have live reactions and recordings that we'll drop into the show.
It's amazing. This is great. Everybody. We've already introduced you to Nuki. Now we need to introduce you to Weng Weng. It will change your life. Where is he now? Like he might still be around. He might be alive. We need people to help research Weng Weng. More Weng Weng to come.
Was that one of the sequels, More Weng Weng to Come, or was that...
No, they didn't get to make that one. It looks like they only made about 4, and I think only 1 or 2 were watchable. All right, everybody. I think that's the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for listening. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and smash that bell and do all the fucking... What else did they say? Smash that like.
Smash that subscribe button. No, all I ask is that you go out and tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a family member, tell somebody that agrees with you, tell somebody that doesn't agree with you. Just tell somebody, because we're definitely a word of mouth show.
I only care that you go watch Weng Weng and report back to Too Much CGI on Twitter. Thank you.
I do have one final thought. I want to thank everyone for no hate mail regarding my Bruce Springsteen take. In fact, in real life, I've gotten more supportive, Bruce isn't that great kind of comments from people of varying ages, varying backgrounds, people I knew from when I was young, people I've only known for the past few years. They're like, Bruce ain't that great. Like, your take wasn't that controversial. So it wasn't as controversial as what I thought it was. And we'll see if we still have subscribers moving forward, or maybe they just fell off the face of the earth. But no hate mail. When you did mail, motherfucker, I thought I was going to be getting some serious backlash coming my way. I don't know if it's good because I didn't, or it's bad because nobody bothers writing into the show. But yeah, either way, I like that I didn't have to defend my stance.
I love this show because we get to bring people new things, right? We're the first show to uncover that nobody really gives a shit about Bruce Springsteen. We've uncovered Nuki, Weng Weng. I introduced you to Synthwave, all kinds of Tarkov, all sorts of shit we introduce you to.
Before we sign off for this episode, there's something that's been lingering out there that you just kind of left dangling as a loose end out into the universe. About 3 or 4 episodes back, you were doing a bad movie description, and something about people from a community come together to dance to save the local community center, wasn't?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
And they dressed like a bunch of assholes, or they dressed poorly, or they dressed like idiots, or...
All of the above. Yeah.
And then you kind of said, I'm going to leave it right there. And up until this point, you did. So what were we looking at? Nope.
Well, I said, if you can guess it and you write it in, I'll give you a free Too Much CGI t-shirt, which I don't even have printed. I don't even have designed.
Right. That's right.
I was so sure nobody was going to get it, and I didn't get a single response, but I will let you know the answer was Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. So there you go. That was the movie. That was the band summary for that movie. And I was sure everyone's going to be like, I guess it's Footloose. I guess it's, but nah, Breakin' 2.
I've heard of Electric Boogaloo before, but I've never heard of Breakin' 2.
Told you it would be hard. Hard. I think that's one of them Cannon movies. Pretty sure it is. That was fun. We'll have to do that again.
With that, well, I guess we'll end this episode.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Until next week.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.